Johnny Fontana, Real World NF Scorpio, back with another video. Today I'm going to be discussing MGTOW, men's rights and all that stuff, men going their own way from an INFJ perspective. Now, this is a subscriber or a requester by someone. This is not about undermining MGTOW. It's not about undermining married people. It's not about undermining feminists or feminism. It's about providing perspective. Okay, I had to actually put in some notes. Okay, because I want to make sure that we go down the line and cover everything. Okay, so it's not to undermine anyone.
So, these two words actually give you the essence of public intellectual. The role of a public intellectual is to paint a painting, to paint for you, a canvas, a panorama of everything. He can say, he has full right to say, because he's human, but some of them are human, and they have right to say, listen, these are the solutions. I mean, 1 to 19. Yeah. I personally think that 17 and 19 are the best. Why I think? Because they have a right to an opinion, but not before. They have painted for you the total picture in a totally unbiased and unprejudiced way. Yeah. No one is doing this today. No, not a single one is.
First, let's be clear. We are so divided, as I said in my previous videos, we are so divided that we have not only different factions, different communities, different sections, but we have subsections. Because all these communities, the original communities, have filled in, but haven't been vetted. So you have anyone who can come in. So as a result, now they start creating their own little dynamic spaces and self, whatever. So even within like MGTOW now, you have 4 or 5 levels of MGTOW. You have from red pill to full-on monk, right? Again, this is perspective. This is not undermining or what have you. Same thing with like the political sphere. You have, your conservatives, you have your Republicans, which is a totally different facet or faction. You have, alt-right, then you have libertarianism, then you have, what do you call it again? Center left, right of center, right of left, then you have, progressive left, and you have liberals, you have Democrats, I mean, you name it. You have all these different factions happening, okay?
I've long talked about the conflict between the far-left Democrats and the regular Democrats, and it's only getting worse. I mentioned this in a video the other day that I don't think there's a left in this country anymore, like an actual unified left. The Democrats may as well be 2 different parties. You've got the far-left small pocket of progressives who don't vote in line with other Democrats, and the constant public fighting is only getting worse. And now the Democrats are going to woke war with the woke Democrats. This is insane, okay?
So now it's to the point where, because everyone is in their own space, it doesn't allow for common and shared moments. Same thing with music.
It's just a matter of figuring out the systems, and we're at a point now where we have to call the systems for what they are. The major label system is narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and getting more bland, and the precocious indie world is getting more precocious. And this gulf is emerging, and the bands are caught, and they're supposed to choose, and they're both shit options, basically.
All right. Same thing with now. It's like when you try to understand certain things, when you say, hey, talk to me about infidelity. I want to know about that. What is about that? People cannot provide you context, so it's just they come from a moral state, just as Esther Perel says here.
Voilà. But the conversation does not include any of this. The conversation is kind of simple categorizations of black and white and good and bad and villain and victim and perpetrator, and that's the language. It's a criminalizing language. It doesn't help anybody. You understand that infidelity is going to become a major subject in your elections. The woman that is the candidate is resented by many and for having chosen to stay. And choosing to stay when you can leave is the new shame. the new shame. That's the new secret. That language basically kills families many times that were perfectly good families. And furthermore, to think of infidelity as the most severe, Americans, 91% believe that infidelity is worse than cloning, than suicide. I mean, it's become like the worst of betrayals and violence. And it's, contempt, indifference, neglect. There are lots of other relational betrayals that are not just about infidelity.
Okay, so everything is polarizing now. So now when it comes to MGTOW, you can't ask about MGTOW because people from MGTOW, there's a faction, not everyone, there's a faction who's going to now abuse you just for even asking about them, because it's like, oh no, it's like you can't be asking me these questions, okay? And they'll like, oh, what are you, married? And then they'll start going against you. Same thing with married people. Instead of now discussing MGTOW, in a neutral manner, or I'm sorry, not married people, but other people who are not part of MGTOW, they'll start throwing God and religion into it. And I'm like, yo, bro, like, why don't you just talk about, the whole concept without involving God and Christianity? You see what I'm saying to you? So like, it's becoming like so polarizing that people can't just have conversations from a neutral point, that people can just have shared understandings, right? So that's one. Now also secret spaces. This is a big one now. And I spoke to people about this in my MBTI, but people who may be watching who are not part of the MBTI, you also have to realize that we lost the secret space.
You see, throughout human history, we had something that between me and myself, called sacred spaces. Mm-hmm. Sacred spaces were physical spaces, mm-hmm, where only certain people were given access. Mm. And of course, one prime example of a sacred space is a book. Mm-hmm. A book was a space where only certain people were given access. Mm. And a television program, or a movie, or in earlier times, hieroglyphs and religious rituals and so on. There were always filters. There was always a gatekeeper, someone or a group or a committee or someone's who looked at your qualifications, your background, your motivation, and your emotions, your stability, or I don't know whatever the criterion or criteria may have been, and then they granted you access or denied you access to a privileged space. Internet was the first time that all space was created equal, and there was no longer privileged space. This egalitarianism of space, spatial egalitarianism, was automatically translated in people's minds to what I call malignant egalitarianism. For me, malignant egalitarianism is the counterfactual, the wrong belief or conviction that all people are created equal as far as their access to the truth and to knowledge. All people are created equal as far as access to opportunities. They should have equal access to opportunities, etc., etc. We all know the list of uncontested equalities. But it is absolutely untrue that all people are created equal either in their capacity to acquire knowledge and verify the truth, or in their willingness to do so.
Sure.
It's utterly untrue. Why did we develop this mass delusion? And we did. Why did we do that? So first of all, there is, as I said, the issue of space. Everyone has equal space. And so if I have the same space like a university, automatically it might be translated or interpreted by some people that I'm as authoritative as the university,
right,
as erudite as the university, with the same background, the same history, and so on and so forth.
Okay, before in the internet, MGTOW would have been something that only people within communities really got. And not only that, not everyone could become part of MGTOW. Like, it was a secret society, it was a club for the boys or for the females, whatever, like it was that.
My cousin Anthony.
went into business for himself. We all know this. In a way for which there is no excuse. It's been made clear to me that if they put their hands on him, he will not be dealt with quick. Talking torture. For that reason, even if I knew who my cousin was, and I do not, I would not deliver him up to them. I am offering him the same protection that I would offer any of you in similar circumstances. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, hey, Tone, I would never do what he did. God bless, I hope not. But we are a family. And even in this fucked up day and age, that means something. So we're going to deal with this as a family, together, no matter how it affects anybody, personal safety-wise, financially-wise, whatever.
Same thing with like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. It was that. Now it's like, nope. Girl Scouts meets Boy Scouts, male Marines coming in with female Marines. We're gonna mix everything together. It's gonna be whatever. So there's no more there's no more spaces. Again, you see how I'm now able to now come here and I'm providing perspective. You can have a conversation with me and be like, hey, what's your political leaning? I'm gonna have a conversation with you here. I have my political leaning. If you're intuitive, you probably can guess, but I'm gonna have a conversation with you here and I'm going to engage with you. You lean right, I'm going to engage with you there. You lean left, I want to talk to you about, because I'm open. I want to know about that. I want to know about this. How does that contribute? I'll challenge you here. I'll challenge you here. Let's have a conversation. Problem is, when you do that, people don't like that. They'll say, whoa, you don't belong to my group. You don't belong to my group. Boom, 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 boom. Because they don't like the fact that you are super down the middle. They need for you to either be on their side or for another side, because they need, what do you call that again? They need a superhero or they need a villain. That's how the world works. We need villains or superheroes. There's no in between, okay?
For us, it was always the hypocrisy. If everybody's sort of branded with the same brush, okay, we can live with that. But, you know, you'd see some people would be exalted and their sins were forgivable. You know, their tattoos were good and yours were bad. Their nose ring was good, yours was. It was like this weird, like, and it really reminded me of high school, which I didn't like. So now I'm in the bigger high school, and now we're playing with millions of dollars and millions of people, and it's just like a popularity contest. And so it brought out maybe the worst or the best in my personality, which was like, I'm going to take this on, and I'm going to use myself as the battering ram. So I'm going to make it about me, knowing it's not about me, which is weird because people can't actually process that. And then you ultimately come to the realization that people need heroes and they need anti-heroes. That's the way they process the world. Music, to most people, is a form of magic.
So, not because of these secret spaces, no one's getting vetted. So you can enter MGTOW. You can do all this kind of stuff within MGTOW. You can say all kind of stuff about other people, and no one's really controlling it. It's not being controlled, okay? There are no parameters.
The cultural consequences, the economic consequences are dire. It undermines professional media and doesn't replace it with anything really. The old media world, which was controlled from above, the industrial media ecosystem, was very good at informing citizens about what was happening in the world. The democratized media of the internet doesn't do that. It creates chaos. It gives all of us a platform to express ourselves. It's great for that, and it's very exciting, and I do it as much as anyone else. But for the consumer of information, for the consumer of news, they leave this media more confused than when they started.
The next issue is disintermediation. Disintermediation is a general process where people got rid of gatekeepers. Mm-hmm. So the result is that last year 3.2 million books were published on Amazon Kindle alone. 3.2 million.
Wow.
Until the year 1900, the cumulative number of books published in human history was 10 million. In a single year, 3.2 million were published on Amazon Kindle.
All of them excellent, well written.
They are no gatekeepers. And because they're not gatekeepers, no editors, no readers, no proofreaders, no nothing. Yeah. Because there are no gatekeepers, we are flooded. And this creates a problem known as discoverability. How do you discover the pearl among the swine? How do you separate trash from good content? And because we just agreed that there is no authority, there's no way to do that.
Okay, same thing with electronic music. There are no parameters. There's no guidance. There's no someone say, whoa, 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 whoa. No. So now you have this person. He'll come in and he'll talk about PUAs. And it's reasonable. You know, he references other people who are, you know, reputable in their fields of social dynamics and relationships, and it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, you know, PUA can be very sleazy type, whatever, you know. So I mean, I'm not really into undermining folks, because I think if you're going to provide a video, you need to be a little bit more neutral. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not here to defend, you know, your whatever. And if you find that, you know, it can be dangerous, provide, you know. But at the same time, open it, you know, for discussion, so we can have debate, right? So he went on, you know, I really didn't appreciate some of the stuff, but he made sense. Boom. But then now you go down his feed, the dude is total MGTOW. To the point where he's like, yeah, I'm level 4. I don't associate with women. I don't do this. I don't do that. So I'm like, bro, like, if you're that, then stay MGTOW. Don't go on and talk crap about MGTOW. I mean, PUA. Because I thought you were trying to be a neutral person, whatever, but no. Come to find out, you're a false prophet. And then now when you read his comments, you have people within the comments talking about, and this is not, again, I'm actually being differential here, okay? And then I'll give you a clip as to what I mean by that. It's that, so now you have people in this comment says, yeah, you know, I was listening to this video. I was in a cafe, and I had it on full blast. I had it on full blast to the point where women were giving me some looks, and then the store owner came over and told me the restaurant owner came in and told me to lower it, and I didn't. I sat there and I enjoyed my meal with that thing on full blast, so that everyone can get a taste of it. And I'm like, whoa.
You short a couple of mil, I go on the street for you. I make a couple of moves. A mil here, a mil there. You got it. Okay?
You make moves on your own.
I got ears, Jerome. I hear things.
Dude, like, if I was MGTOW, you're out.
I told you to back the fuck off, Beansy.
I did. Then I put it in drive.
Oh, you think this is funny? That guy might never walk again. Did you know that? And for what? Because he didn't duke you enough? Because he didn't visit you in the can? When's the last time you visited anybody in the can, Richie? When's the last time you gave a fuck about anybody or Richie April? Do you remember one thing, and this you better hear? You want to talk all this old school bullshit about the rules? Well, here's a rule you might remember. I'm the motherfucking one who calls the shots. And you better pay me the respect that I gave your brother, or we're gonna have a problem. A bad one. Now get the fuck out of here.
All right, Tony.
Yeah. All right.
You know what I'm saying to you? Like, first of all, there are rules to this game, dude. Right? Like, not everyone can be MGTOW. I'm not MGTOW. I'm telling you right now, I'm not MGTOW. But if I was, this is my stance. We don't go around talking crap about other communities. PUA, they do what they do. That's them. We don't go bothering them. We don't go talk to them. We leave them alone, because that's who they are. If they come to us, they getting it. But they're there, they do their thing. You don't go around spreading our word unless we tell you can.
I am the boss.
Sure, you're the boss.
Hey, Tony. Remember I told you when you started, the guys who last in this business are the guys who fly straight, low-key, quiet, and the guys who want it all. Chicas, champagne, flash,
they don't last.
Who do you think you are? Okay? You are in a place of business.
Look at this fucking sfacino over here. We're in a camp in a nice restaurant like this.
That's one of the things I hated most when I had my restaurant. Its values today. Standards are crumbling.
Oh my. That would be great.
Take your hat off.
Excuse me?
They don't sell hot dogs here. They took the bleachers out 2 years ago.
It's my hat. I'll wear it where I want.
How you doing?
Thank you. Look at him. Douchebag. Good for you.
Send him a bottle of Montepulciano. And, get the license plate of these two guys sitting behind Artie. Get the valet to do it. They look like cops.
You are not some street vendor on New York City preaching the gospel. That's not what your work is. Your work is to be humble. You come to the source. You get your information. If you want to spread the word, you give them a card, you talk to them. But you don't go thinking that you're some prophet and that you can go disrupting businesses. You see what I'm saying to you? That's my take on it. Because I'm being differential. I'm saying, yo, like if you MGTOW, you need to control your people. If you want to be MGTOW, yo, MGTOW. We MGTOW. Like we at it. Like if I have my own thing, officially grown, right? I'm officially grown. You can't just be officially grown. You can't just officially grown. More has to do with, being elite, but contributing to the world in every aspect, right? Owning your business, being married, continue on your legacy and all that stuff. But not everyone can just be officially grown. You can't just be an OG just because you claim to be OG and you watch my videos. And not only that, you're not going to go over to MGTOW and start making videos about MGTOW. You're not going to do that. You do that, I'm going to find you. And you're going to be put away. Simple as that. Like, you don't do that.
7 to 7 over here.
Whoa, what's the matter now?
What's the matter? I got a call from Liaco down at the brokerage. Your two friends beat the shit out of a broker. 2 others quit.
The guy was pushing some other stock.
It attracts negative attention. And then the 2 fucksticks rip off a Porsche Carrera from our own building.
I'll call him.
No, you go down there. Now. What'd you get your license for, Christopher? Your resume? Huh? I've been telling you, spend more time down at the brokerage. You're the fucking SEC compliance officer, for Christ's sake. You gotta exercise impulse control.
Okay, Tom.
Okay?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Okay? So guess what? You got your space, you stay in your space. You don't go on anyone's territory. You don't go around making noise. You don't go selling dope on other people. You don't go running your mouth about what we do. And that's the thing. Because it's open now. So everyone can come in. They got loud mouths and they're doing what they want to do. You got people who are into religion, into the whatever. They're going around and when they talk about MGTOW, the marriage and this and that. Okay, same thing. Hey, you want to talk about transgender and whatever? Same thing. Want to talk about gay, homosexuality? It's fine. Let's talk about it. But don't bring in religion and talk about the God's gospel and the God's word and the this and that and the third. No, has nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, stay away from that. So I'm being passionate right now, but that's what I'm saying to you. Because again, I come from that old school mentality of like, yo, bro, like you don't speak about certain things that doesn't relate to you. Okay?
What did I tell you when you came to me? Said you wanted back in? I said, as long as you don't step on anybody's toes.
In my day.
And that's another thing. I don't want to hear no more about how it was in your day. You just keep your antidotes of local color, like Dynaflows or McGuire sisters or shit like that. Otherwise, shut the fuck up!
But there's more to it now. Because it's not just only about that. Now we come to the point now we don't realize. Now we're going to talk about how the world has changed. We went from marrying for a reason. We went for using love for a reason. We went from having children for legacy and for a reason. Now it's you want one person to be your one and only, to provide you wealth, happiness, to give you excitement, to give you all of this in all one person. That person is the one, right? And you are monogamous with that one person, but then you move on to another and another and another, and you say that, oh, I am monogamous in all of my 55 relationships.
I think that for the first time in history, we want one relationship to give us all the needs that have to do with anchoring and rooting and a sense of belonging and continuity and stability and predictability and security and safety and that whole dimension of our life. And we want the same person to also provide us the sense of novelty and surprise and unknown and mystery and awe and transcendence. And I want the same person to be familiar and to be new and to be comfortable and to be edgy and to be predictable and to be surprising. And we should fix this with Victoria's Secret, you know? And of course, as you know, there is no Victor's Secret. You know where the responsibility lies. So, you know, we are asking, particularly because of the privatization of life, because of the diminishment of all the major institutions that we used to rely on for those needs, we are asking one person to give us what once an entire village used to provide. Marriage used to be an economic enterprise. And in fact, adultery was the space where people went to look for love, because marriage was too mercenary an enterprise to have to bring love into it. Then we brought love to marriage, and now infidelity is the shattering of that love. Now marriage is a romantic arrangement in which I want the same person to be my best friend, my trusted confidant, my passionate lover to boot, and you live twice as long. Look, monogamy used to be one person for life. Today, monogamy is one person at a time. And everybody goes around saying, I'm monogamous in every relationship. You know, there's no monogamy in your memories, and there's no monogamy in your fantasies. So the only place you have monogamy is in reality, and that's a rather small portion of your consciousness.
You see what I'm saying to you? So now, we've built this society by where we haven't cultivated and grown relationships. I've been married for 15 years happily. I'm the king of my castle. I have 2 children. And the reason why is because as a man, I haven't had to change. I grew up and I've had a lot of family around me. You have to understand that the nuclear family is a real important component to this. I've watched my great-grandfather do his thing, have a lot of children, married to two women, whatever like that, but remain married, live a traditional life. My grandfather, same thing, have married, do his thing, do things that we just don't talk about. Okay, when I say we don't talk about, hence multiple kids. And then my father comes down. Same thing, married for 25 something years. But then when they got divorced, guess what? The kids are old enough. They're over 18. They're in their 20s already. They're 25. So there's, you know what I'm saying to you? Me, I'm married for 15 years. But guess what? I've created a situation by where my wife is self-sufficient. I brought her over from her country. I brought her from over. So she came to my world. I didn't go to anyone's world because I'm the man. So which means that you come to my world. So which means that there's certain things that come along with coming to someone's world.
For the first time, the concept of happiness enters their life. Marriage used to be basically you choose, maybe you choose not well, bad luck, at least you can be lucky, you die sooner. You know? It was gloom. It wasn't, love stories existed somewhere else, but marriage was not a place where you went to look for those aspects of yourself. The family mattered. And by the way, why I began this whole story was like, you know, after the Clinton scandal, and because that is linked to the cultural thing, when the whole Lewinsky Clinton scandal occurred, it was very interesting to me. Why was America so comfortable with multiple divorces and so intransigent with transgression? The rest of the world has always opted the other way around, thanks to women. You preserve the family and you let the adult messes, you know, stay in their own little corner because there are too many people who depend on this marriage. The marriage isn't just between two individuals. And every time people would scream about affairs, I would say, why don't you scream about divorce? That the solution of all the family bonds with many longer consequences, except in Denmark, because the state takes care of you, you can divorce easily, and then you have a 7-day model. But here, it was an interesting thing, why this one has become so normative, and this one is like the biggest offense.
You see what I'm saying to you? There's certain things that come along with coming to someone's world. If I had gone to over there and I went to her world, I would be at her mercy.
You know, for a long time, our relationships were pretty simple because they were dictated by rules. Religion had clear strictures, and it had structure, and it had incentives, and it had prohibitions. And social hierarchy was also very clear, and it told us how parents had to talk to the kids, how children had to respond to adults, how husbands had to talk to their wives, and how wives didn't have to answer their husbands. Things were clear. All the decisions were made for us, the big decisions. Who was going to be the breadwinner? Who was going to wake up at night to feed the baby? Who has the right to demand for sex? What you did is what your father did. And at this moment, we have unraveled this system, and we have created a world of options and choices and unprecedented freedom. But as a result, we have to negotiate everything. It's all up for grabs. It's no longer clear who's going to be the breadwinner. In fact, whose career is going to take priority at this time? Who's going to wake up tomorrow morning to feed the baby? Who's responsible for initiating sex next time? Who's going to plan the date? What gender should I be dating? How many people should I be dating at the same time? Should I tell them about the others? Am I ready to have children? Do I even want to have children? Should I move east? Should I move west?
You see what I'm saying to you? Like a lot of men, they marry into their wife's family. And then they wonder why they're so miserable. No, she married to my family. And I told her, my family is from Haiti. We have a traditional culture. You know what I'm saying to you? I'm going to provide you. I'm going to bring you over. You had your residency because I work for the U.S. Embassy in 3 months. Then you eventually got your citizenship. I taught you how to drive. You got your license. I helped you with your resume. I gave you your first job. My family gave you your first job. I helped you with your resume so that you can get your other jobs. We moved to another location. I helped you again with that. I helped you with your fitness. I helped you with this. I helped you with everything. Guess what? In return, you cook for me. You clean for me. You care for my kids. I provide you weekend getaways because you've sustained all of, you know, the hard work and caring for the family all week. Guess what? During the weekend, we go out. You don't have to cook. I provide you with excitement. I provide you with experiences so that you can get away from that. I provide you with protection. I give you your car. I give you your home. You see what I'm saying to you? I give you your children. That good children. With good genes. Who are excellent in school. Who are very athletic. Okay? So guess what? As a woman, she gets it. She understands that because she's in my world, there's certain things that come along with that. Like, we don't have to discuss it, but you get it. As opposed to a friend of mine who I've spoken to about before, where he can't even call his kids because the wife is changing the phone numbers on the tablets of their kids, but she's end up in the boyfriend who she was cheating with at his house, and she was calling the cops on him and all this stuff. That's the stuff that gets you hemmed up. That stuff is not gonna happen to me because there is an understanding in my house. Let me give you an example. Picking a spouse is like picking a dog. My wife tells me, if you were weak, if you were the Brad Pitts of the world, if you were the Tom Cruises, I would walk all over you. Because she's from Eastern Europe. She's from Latvia. And her mother's from Russia.
Because there's something in me that naturally just comes out. If I smell weakness in a male, I will explore it and I would just feast on it like a freaking leech. I will literally do that. So
But why is it?
I don't know what it is. It's almost like disdain for weak men. But my point is, at age 4 and 5, it was already there. You see what I'm saying? So, and when I say weak men, I'm not necessarily talking about body types, muscles, or anything like that. I'm talking about a male kind of essence. You see what I'm saying? So if I would ever, let's say, break up with you tomorrow, I will be that female that like, and by the way, don't call me because I saved your phone number as do not answer. Like, I will be that person. You see what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be like, if you would send me let's say I would go on a date with you and 2 days later you send me a text message that says, oh, how come you didn't call me? I'm like, done, erase the number. Like, I don't need to be policed while I didn't freaking text you back in like 30 seconds. Like, yeah, no. Like, not doing that. Like, I have matured to the point that I don't have energy to deal with any of it remotely. Like, I cannot see myself being like 45, 50 years old answering a text message from a dude asking me like, why you didn't text me back. I just like, no. It's my job to ask you why you don't text me back. I'm the chick, okay? So just like, be the man.
She says, I need a strong man to put me in my place because if not, I'm going to put you in your place.
So okay, but so what is it about me that actually tames that part of you and that doesn't allow you to go there?
Let's be honest. When I have explored little openings of weakness, man, I had a cobra teeth here, putting poison in my neck and telling me, do you want me to put more poison in here? And at that point, I've become that person that goes like, all right, you're good to go. You got going on. You can handle me. Okay, good. Like, that's the dynamic that I am experiencing. Like, how can I say? I feel like always one is more submissive than the other, but it's in a way that it works in a team. It's not undermining that one is better than the other. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the same time, you know that there are moments when I tell you and you're like, that's cool. And at that point, I'm like, see, my female thing worked on a man. You know what I mean? And vice versa. That male energy, like, it's like a checks and balances. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when I feel like that I am the only one doing the checks and you the balance, you are the balance. I shall find me somebody else and you can weep over there. Like, I feel that's the thing, you know. I almost feel like I found somebody who can like put me in an area where I'm just not like all over the place feasting on carcasses, you know. Because you admit yourself, I can be sometimes like, I'm Americanized, I'm actually very nice right now, but there was a time like I could be like so freaking mean to people.
Right? So she understands that, and when I go out to DJ, she lets me go out to DJ. When I say let me, she lets me, because we have that relationship. You know, she knows. She's like, yeah, go out and DJ, because that's what you want to do. You know, I don't give her reason for anything, whatever. If she's doing whatever she's doing, I'm not looking for it, because I'm secure that if she's doing what she's doing, because again, I don't come from that mentality of sex being the thing that drives me. If she's doing it and I don't know about it, I'm not going to go looking for it, because I'm not a hypocrite. That's high context right there. I'm not a hypocrite. I won't go looking for it. High context. If you don't get it, that's on you.
But the question of are people by nature monogamous? Some are. Monogamy is a cultural, social, economic, and political structure. It's not about human nature. Any culture that imposed monogamy didn't do it because they looked at you or anybody else here and said, what is human nature? They said, what does the system need to preserve its powers, its privilege, its children, its authorities, and all of that? You know, the conversation about monogamy and human nature, to me, are two separate stories. By the way, so is the conversation about infidelity and the conversation about monogamy. There's plenty of infidelity in open relationships, because sometimes, even when we have the freedom to express ourselves in other places, there is something about breaking rules that is really part of human nature.
Same way she doesn't go look into my stuff. Okay? But again, because we don't live this world of cheating and this, that, and the third. We don't live that world.
Basically, the first thing I would say is that couples, hetero couples who have a good monogamous relationships are couples who have talked about it. They didn't just assume it. They've kind of negotiated it. And their negotiation was a little more than just, I catch you and you're dead, which is the majority conversation in most straight couples. The only time straight couples talk about this stuff is after the shit hits the fan, when there's a crisis. When I suddenly discover I have herpes that I wasn't meant to have, when I suddenly discover a slew of texts in your phone that I didn't think were going to be there, etc., etc. So the first thing is it's a conversation. It's a conversation when things are good. It's a conversation that doesn't invite the other person to lie. And that tells you that because we can complain about the other person being a liar, but we sometimes need to check to what degree am I a lying invitee, right? I set it up in such a way that you're never going to tell me the truth. Third, I respect that your entire sexuality, that doesn't mean the act of sex, but your entire erotic world doesn't belong to me because we are married. You are still a sovereign, autonomous person. Fourth, there is permission, very much what Dan said, to recognize that you may have desires, attractions, crushes for other people, and it isn't instantly translated as, I'm not enough.
Whereas in America, according to Esther Perel, we do. Listen to what she says here.
And sometimes that trust afterwards becomes what is often called a secondary naivete, not the first naivete in which you somehow believe that this would never happen to you. You know, Americans don't cheat any less than the French. And I have a French accent, but I am not French. And they just feel more guilty about it.
How can you change marriage? What can you do to
Oh, but marriage has changed all the time. Marriage used to be an economic enterprise. And in fact, adultery was the space where people went to look for love, because marriage was too mercenary an enterprise to have to bring love into it. Then we brought love to marriage, and now infidelity is the shattering of that love. Now marriage is a romantic arrangement in which I want the same person to be my best friend, my trusted confidant, my passionate lover to boot, and you live twice as long. So, you know, and the future of marriage is a marriage that it continues its evolution. Not too long ago, premarital sex would have been a total sin and a cross on you for the rest of your life. Then we brought premarital sex, normal, contraception, normal, gay marriage, now normal, sexuality, the homosexuality taken out of the DSM, you know, in the 70s, finally normal, and the borders keep being pushed. Then we wanted a sexuality within marriage that was a sexuality that was connected, emotional, sexual, satisfying, luscious, you know, with all of that. And now we're talking about a sexual freedom within marriage. And that is going to become the next conversation. Look, monogamy used to be one person for life. Today, monogamy is one person at a time.
So you see what I'm saying to you? So it's a different mentality that we have. However, now, I get where MGTOW and the incels and everyone else is coming from. I get it. And that's what I'm telling you. You see, that's why when you listen to me, you're like, yo, dude, like, you can come up with all these, you can hold different concepts in your mind. At the same time, be like, yo, you get me? Yes. Because, again, I do research. And I said before, a lot of people don't know how to hold different concepts in their minds. When I was in DC, I started to realize, whoa, like DC is very just like uptight and whatever. And then you would read the forums and people would be like, hey, like women would come in, or even men. Hey, I'm looking, to date, the DC area. I just moved here. I'm a successful, boom, 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 dun, dun. And it's like, yo, bro, like, why are you wearing your credentials on your sleeve? Like, what's up with that? Because I came from Miami, right? So there wasn't any of that. Then you start to do the research. I'll connect the dots. Oh, okay, DC's like this, the city, and then you start to understand missions of city, right? That's when I really started to understand missions of city when I left Miami. I was like, oh, okay, like that's why DC does this. That's why it has a noise coalition and gives people fine for playing music too loud, and that's why they do this and do that. That's why you can't eat on the train. That's why it's carpeted and this, that, and the third. And you have to go on the rights, and you have to go on your left, and you have to stop at the stop walks, red light. You can't walk. You cannot jail. What do you call it again? Jaywalk. You cannot do this. You cannot do that, because you have to be conformed. I was like, oh, okay. And then when people would wear their credentials on their sleeve, I'm like, oh, okay, because there's a sense of elitism. Even though it's very ethnically diverse, it's very monocultural. Monocultural means that everyone works for the as a contractor for the government, whatever. So they all serve one purpose, right? One mission, which is politics, right? Government. So you have to conform to that. Whereas you have other places, they have different, the city has different missions. Like Vegas is very different, right? So then that's why it's like you have to have a degree and all this stuff. So then that's their very, their mindset. But then again, you would realize that when they say certain things, you'd be like, you sound like a nerd who wants to be like cool, and you just throw stuff like, oh yeah, we want to be world class, we want to be on par with this, and like you sound like a wannabe, like someone who never really got out. And because you're getting a little something now, yeah, DC is constantly developing. We're going to be a world class. We're going to be on par with this and that. And then they always talk about how DC is hip now that Obama's here, and this is at the time when he was in office. So yeah, but if you're cool, you don't have to talk about how you're cool. and cool people don't use the word hip and all that stuff. So you start to, I know I'm drifting, but I'm trying to give you an idea. And then so now I would go into research. I'd go to Tinder because I wanted to do research. But again, people don't understand the idea, okay, of being able to hold concepts, and that's why, as Perel says here. Okay, so if I say I'm going onto Tinder, but I've been married for 15 years, people don't like that. Oh, why are you going on Tinder for? No, there's something more than that. No, because I'm a social scientist. Okay, I'm not. I don't label myself. I'm not certified. I'm just on YouTube. Okay, and again, I'm guilty of that as well. Okay, I consider myself a social scientist in terms of, but liberally. I'm not certified. I don't consider myself an authority in it. So just say that. But I like to research. I want to know. Okay, so if we actually knew what scientists were researching, despite their marital status, we would be like, whoa. Okay, so we do a lot of research. Okay, so I'm going somewhere with this. So I went on Tinder, and I would read the feeds of women, and then they would read, oh, I've been, and again, this is not to undermine women. I'm giving you perspective. Listen.
He just happens along, but you all are very successful women, and I think sometimes, I'm just saying sometimes, just give you something to think about. Some successful women have had good men and didn't know it, because you do not know what comprises a good man. You don't know the DNA of a good man. See, a man shows his love very differently from a woman. And I call them in the book the 3 P's of love. We profess, we provide, and we protect. If you're so successful, and a man knows this, and you exude success, which you should, please don't stop being successful. But understand, a man has got to see where he fits into the providing and protecting role. If you got everything, you know everything, you can do everything.
No,
you got your own car, you got all this, you can protect, you got a guard dog and a handgun. The guy is thinking, where do I fit in here? You've got to make a space for him to fit in so he can come in and do what men do.
May I say this? I say this to my friend Gail all the time, who says the same thing you all are saying. Where do you find a man? Where do you find a man? You guys are intimidating to men.
So the woman would say, oh, I've been, chasing my dreams, my career for so long, and now I'm ready to settle down. And I'm like, do you realize that for the past 22 years, so if you're 30 and you started dating around, or you started school around 18, do you realize that for 22 years you haven't really established any kind of relationship values as it pertains to intimacy? Okay? As opposed to what, let's say, Belgium does.
Look, I've married 30 years, I have 2 boys, and I was going to make them not become casualties of the American system. We have comprehensive sex education. It starts at age 4. It doesn't talk about private parts. It's not a plumbing class. It is somewhat more procreative, but it connects. It talks about pleasure. It talks about love. It talks about relationship. This is the book you read for the 4-year-olds. It talks about how it compares with other living creatures. It is the one that I'm thinking of is definitely a heterosexual story, but it plants the seeds very clearly of this is part of how we relate, this is part of how we express our love, our connection, our fondness, this is pleasurable, etc., etc. And it establishes from the start freedom, autonomy, respect, pleasure, connection. Here's what's wrong in the United States. This is the only country that doesn't have a public health policy on adolescent sexuality in the West. Therefore, as a result of the abstinence campaigns, activity starts 2 years before the liberal Dutch. 8 times more teen pregnancy than all of the EU and 35 other countries combined, and a proliferation of STDs. There is, on the one hand, a complete madness around the politics of safety and the precautionary principle and all the assault stuff that you have on campus, and then you just swipe and you go and you fuck the next stranger. Here you can't talk to anybody, and here there is this, and these two extremes are typical. It's always a combination of repressive tactics and complete massive excess, with nothing that is just simply an integrated topic. Because in the US, sex is the risk factor. In Europe, being irresponsible is the risk factor. Sex is a natural part of life. As a result, you have posters all over the place about the fact that 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds will have sex and should use protection in order to be able to enjoy the sex, not in order to avoid getting sick. It's actually a very different conception. I can't even tell you where to begin with this. It's wrong from the start. It's wrong from the moment you have pink and blue.
You see what I'm saying to you? So therefore, you've been chasing your dreams, chasing your dreams, chasing your dreams. So now that I come into your world, what am I going to offer you? It's the same thing of, I'm successful this, I'm successful that, I'm successful this. That's why my wife, she doesn't do that. She doesn't throw those I'm successful cards. And that's why I say I get it. Because when I used to date, I used to see a lot of that. I used to see a lot of the, oh, I'm a successful woman, you cannot handle me, and this, that, and the third. And now you have a lot of negotiation and all that, as Esther Perel says here.
But definitely, there was a collective model. And in that collective model of living in the village, relationships were very clear. Everybody knew who they were. You knew what was expected of you, and you knew how you needed to behave. You knew whose salary was the one that's going to be the important one. You knew who was going to wake up to feed the baby. You knew who had the right to demand for sex. And you knew how parents needed to talk to children, and they didn't need to spend 10 minutes explaining why it was important to clean their room. And you knew how children wanted to respond to authority, and you knew how husbands were going to talk to their wives, and you also knew how their wives were not going to respond to the husbands. And the others didn't get to be married, so there was that. And in that model, which was a religious model, which was a model with social hierarchy, which was a model with very clear incentives and prohibitions. The boundaries were clear. That doesn't mean they were not infringed upon all the time, but they were clear. And all the big decisions were made for us. We had to make rather small amounts of decisions. So you had a lot of certainty, you had a lot of clarity, you had very little personal freedom, and who cared about personal expression or fulfillment? But we have moved to a model that is on the other side of this, with unprecedented freedom. All the big decisions we have to make. Whose salary matters really? Whose career is more important? Who's going to wake up tomorrow morning? Who's planning for the next date? Who initiates for sex on a more regular basis? It's all negotiated. Relationships today are not made up of rules and duty and obligations. They're made up of conversation and negotiation, and a lot of negotiation. Stuff people never had to negotiate. So we don't know how to do it.
Now you also have a faction of male coaches. And we're going to get into this. This is going to get a little hairy now. They're delivering certain messages that may be detrimental because it's not neutral. And that's why I said when I first started that you have a lot of false prophets. You have a lot of guys like AMS and so forth and so on who's telling, yeah, you know, I'm not getting married and I'm a sleazeball and I only deal with 8s and 9s and this and you don't have my time and this, that, and the third. And other people are saying, oh, don't get married and this. You have to realize the lens from which these people are coming from, right? They come from the Anglo-Afro-Westernized lens. Afro-Westernized lens is not the same thing as the Afro-Caribbean lens.
Because we were raised that discipline is a certain way, but that might be a culture shock, and that type of culture shock is what separates immigrant blacks and African Americans.
We look at it as a separate entity, but we can still respect it within our culture. What happens with African Americans, they try to make Pan-Africanism the culture, and they kind of get upset that, like, well, you should be with us, like it should just be one black people. We're like, wait, listen, we have a culture. You have a culture too, whether you realize it or not. And it's not like just because you're not happy with your culture, we have to supersede that with a one black people mentality. And that's where the rift comes, because an African American may see a solution to a political answer as being something that the government has to provide a solution for. A Caribbean person might be like, you know what? I couldn't open up a business in this space without, you know, the government stealing my money and oppressing it. I'm gonna make money. I'm fine. I have all. America gives me all the tools to make everything I need to make happen. So again, that's why we can't get a one black person political agenda, because.
You know what I'm saying to you? Like, my grandmother had 7 children. You know, my grandfather had my grandmother had 10 on the other side. So we have a lot of children, but the family stayed intact. Yeah, you have divorces and so forth and so on, but at the end of the day, all family members are still intact. It's not like we went out and we couldn't find each other and like, oh, hey, you go, oh, hey. No, like, people stayed intact. Even though, like, there was divorce, but the second and third marriages, whether it be because of death or because of whatever, remained intact. You see what I'm saying to you? Until children were older. So my grandfather, he married twice, but he was still banging nurses because he was a doctor, you know, in Africa and in France. But still, like, his second marriage, because he married my grandmother, because, you know, and then she passed away, unfortunately. But then he ended up marrying my step grandmother. But they were together for 30 years. So, and my father, he just, you know, again, divorced, but he was with my stepmother for 25 years, 26 years, 27 years. You see what I'm saying to you? So, and he knew his current, you know, whatever, for a while. And they've been together. So it's like, I see these things. So I didn't grow up with single mothers and all of this stuff. I grew up with a whole lot of cousins, a whole lot of family who I see who are intact. So the message that I'm going to give to you, if I give, which I probably won't give marriage and relationship advice as it pertains to, like, or how they do it. I'll give my perspective, but I'm not going to, you know, make a series of, like, this is what men are supposed to do and whatever. But it's going to, if I do give or provide perspective, it's going to come from a lens of stability. Not from a lens of, like, I've noticed or I've witnessed all this and that stuff. Because my family doesn't have, you know, like, large levels of, like, chaos and, like, taking people to, you know, like I don't have a whole list of people going to jail. I don't have a whole list of all the family members from Haiti and all that stuff, in France, whatever. I don't have a whole list of, like, single mothers. Yeah, you have single mothers, but mothers who are taking their husbands to you know, to the cleaners and all that stuff, because that's unheard of. We don't do that stuff. That's why, like, my wife, she's not gonna do that, even though she's Americanized, because she knows that my family, okay, my mother, my father, my aunt, uncle, are gonna apply that pressure on her because she's in my world.
If I were to kill somebody and you didn't want me to go to jail, would you help me bury the body in the backyard?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying to you? So that's just how it is. So it comes from a different lens. So that's why I say, like, I'm giving you perspective. It has nothing to do with me undermining MGTOW or whatever, because they can provide that. So because they have their lens. And there are a lot of people who associate with that lens. So then therefore I cannot go in and be like, oh yeah, that, because that's what they know. You see what I'm saying to you? That's why we need to, I can hold different concepts, because it's the same thing with, like, even though I'm not Black American, I'm still Black. And I understand the Black American plight. But at the end of the day, I still don't understand it at the same level as them. So I can't be like, yo, like, I get it, I'm down. I'm down, but I can't be like I'm fully because I'm not fully. You see what I'm saying to you? And I can't be like I'm fully Anglo-Westernized because I'm not. Because I just don't come from that lens. So that's why I stay in my space. And that's why I vet people who I want into my world. As opposed to other people who just vet people, you know, just for the sake of vetting people and letting everyone in. And when they come in, they realize, dude, like, these people are just causing all kind of havoc. You see what I'm saying to you? So yeah, there are changes in this world. And it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. And I don't see it changing. And so MGTOW, they want to do their thing. They do their thing. And I feel bad because, again, I go out. I've been out. Like, I went out last night. I'm in San Antonio. And I see it. There's a lot of, like, betaism happening. Where men are just chasing after women. And, like, because, you know, I'm from New York. So I dress a certain way. I have a certain swag. I lived in Miami for 10 years. I have a certain swag. So when I'm in San Antonio, I look a certain way. And the women look at me, you know. And they're men, you can tell they're men. Again, because of that SE, the observation. They put their hand around their woman, you know, and they start blocking them and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You know what I'm saying to you? But again, that insecurity, you know, like chasing them around the whole entire club and hold. Bro, like, you're at a club. Why are you, like, holding, hanging on to your girl like she's going to leave you for? You see what I'm saying to you? Like, that's what you have. And next thing you know, because women sense that, and then they take these guys to the cleaners. It's like I said with my friend, like, come on, like, imagine a woman being laid up in some bed with her boyfriend, my wife or my ex-wife or my whatever. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, are you kidding me? Like, listen, there's a level of fear. Like, that would never happen.
Who was that guy?
Nobody.
Who was that guy?
He's
You gotta
nobody.
know who he is. Who is he?
He's nobody, Neil.
Listen,
He's a legit liquor wholesaler from Las Vegas. Alan Marciano.
Chris is gonna straighten it up with you.
It's too late. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Shut up! Here's the deal. You will give Chris one last shot. After that, he fucks up, then I will finance setting you up myself, on my own, any way you want. Dominic will go with you, and my word counts. But right now, you will give him the chance. Clean up, go home. Clean up, go home.
Never happened. What are you talking about? That stuff would never happen. I'll give you another example. Okay, when I was in the military, and, you know, I was processing, you know, for, you know, TMO and stuff like that, basically to housing goods. I would hear all kind of stories from the clerks of how, you know, men would be on deployment, or even women would be on deployment, and they would give their spouse, you know, the power of attorney, but the general instead of like a specific power of attorney, and they'd come home, and all their stuff would be like sold to the point of even selling their dog, or like men, like, you know, their women cheating on their best friends, you know, all this kind of crazy stuff. And yeah, so I get it. But guess what? Like, dude, like, you put yourself in that situation. Like, I'm going to come here and say that there is a reason why a woman did that to you. You know what I'm saying to you? There's a reason why. Because you didn't properly vet the woman. You married her and you didn't spend enough time vetting her and knowing her potential and capabilities, because you just went out there and you were like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You had unprotected sex and you did all this stuff and you went crazy. She's calling cops on you and doing all kind of crazy stuff on you. If you did it the first time, you didn't learn your lesson, and now guess what? You didn't handle your business. In my household, that stuff doesn't happen because I handle my business. Johnny Fontana, Real World NF Scorpio, we out.